So the question that we're asking ourselves today is, where the hell is the Dragonborn now? What is it doing at this precise moment? So we played through the game, we defeated Alduin, we became the listener of the Dark Brotherhood, we are the champions of the companions, we, I guess, collected the Eyes of the Falmer, and, we did all that. We did Dawnguard, killed Harkin, the Dragonborn, we killed Miraak. Now, where is the Dragonborn? What is it doing? If there was a game called Elder Scrolls 6 Argonia, what would the books say about the Dragonborn? What would the people say about the Dragonborn? Where the hell is he? It's interesting because Elder Scrolls never makes it obvious to us. In Morrowind, and I'm gonna start from Morrowind on because these are the more modern versions of the Elder Scrolls games, so probably more closely tied to the real design that these guys want to make for their games. But in Morrowind, the Nerevarine, which is the main character, he's part of a prophecy. His prophecy is to destroy the Tribunal. As part of Asura's prophecy, he needs to kill the Tribunal, and he does just that. He kills Dagath-Or, he kills Almalexia, and Almalexia kills Sothasil, but he never gets to kill Bivec. We do know that Bivec eventually dies off or disappears through the events of the Oblivion Crisis, as it was happening in Oblivion. We don't really know how, we don't really know where or what happened, but he just disappears. And almost the same thing happens to the Nerevarine. We don't really know where he went or what happened while Morrowind was the last game. Later on in Oblivion, we get told that he indeed left Tamriel to go to Akavir in an expedition, and that's where he is right now. The thing is about the Nerevarine, and we will get to the Dragonborn in just a bit, but the thing about the Nerevarine is that he's actually immortal. There's this disease in Morrowind called the Corpse's Disease, I believe it's called, and it was part of Dagath-Or, and he's, I guess, he tried to poison Morrowind to, punish the Tribunal and all of that stuff. But the disease itself, it creates protuberances of cancer in your body and eventually drives you insane. It pretty much makes you into a zombie, literally, like makes you kind of immortal, but kind of like a crazy Dark Souls zombie immortal kind of way. And one of the prophecy aspects of the Nerevarine prophecy was that the Nerevarine, the main character, was going to be a person who would be able to endure this disease, who would be able to survive it. And through the game, you discover that you do indeed survive it. You do not go crazy, and you do not suffer this cancerous protuberances, but instead you kind of evolve it in a way that you're actually immortal, and you become immune to diseases. You don't age, but you don't suffer the crazy aspect of it. So in theory, the Nerevarine is actually immortal. He is still living as far as the Elder Scrolls Skyrim lore is concerned. As far as the 4th era, the year 200 of the 4th era, he's still alive. We know that he is still in Akavir, but he's still alive, which is the main point that I wanted to drive home here. Now, the Oblivion character, the hero of Kvatch, this guy, obviously everyone believes that he became Sheogorath through the Shivering Isles expansion. He mantled is the word that we use here. He mantled Sheogorath and he became him, while the actual Sheogorath became Gigalag. Who knows where Gigalag is? The point is, we have a Sheogorath and a Gigalag, and Sheogorath now in Skyrim is the hero of Kvatch. Now, the interesting thing here is that there is a sequence of events in Oblivion, right? You have the main game of Oblivion, everything that happens in there, you do the whole thing with Manka Camarend, you go into paradise, then you fight Merum's Dagon thanks to the avatar of Akatosh, and you defeat him, and boom, end of the game, right? You finish the main quest. Then the Knights of the Nine happen, you do that, you collect a group of individuals, you become the Knights of the Nine, and you defeat Umariel. Then Shivering Isles happen, and it's all sequential, right? Like, they all came out in this particular order, and then it ends with Shivering Isles, where supposedly the hero becomes Sheogorath. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is because there is a sequence of events, and it tends to be, from what we have gathered, is that at the end of the main quest and at the end of the expansion main quest, the story ends. There's an ending. There's always something that happens to the main character that takes him out so that he's kind of done exploring. There's an ending to his story, right? Now, in Skyrim, it is very tricky because, as I said before in the beginning, it's never obvious. We actually didn't know what happened to the Nerevarine until Oblivion, because in Oblivion it is when they tell us that he went into Akavir, but before then we had no idea, right? And it was until we have Elder Scrolls Skyrim where we actually figured out that Sheogorath was indeed the hero of Kvatch because of the new tips that, you know, you can kind of see during the quest with Sheogorath in Skyrim. But before then, it wasn't really that obvious, right? So in Skyrim, it is very difficult to tell because it is not obvious, and it'll probably gonna have to be until we get the next Elder Scrolls game for us to be sure about this. Now, before we even get to my theory, we need to talk about the side quests, because for us to really be able to tell what is true and what happened, we have to decide whether the side quests in the games are actually canon or not. Now, for those of you who do not know what canon is, and I'm sorry if I'm being patronizing here, but just so that we're all on the same page, canon means that something actually legitimately happened in the story. There's a lot of things that are not canon within the games of the Elder Scrolls. For example, the fact that a sword does 10 points of damage instead of 12. Like, there's no... It's not canon, it's not true that a dwarven sword is better than a steel sword. That's just a game mechanic. It's just a way for the developers to have us appreciate the game and enjoy the game, but it's not true within the story of the game, right? That's what something being canon means. The hero of Kvatch never really closed 96 gates of Oblivion by himself. Like, that's obviously didn't happen. It makes no sense. It's not logical, right? So let's start and analyze, are the side quests for the Elder Scrolls games actually canon or not? That the hero of Kvatch really went into the Dark Brotherhood and became the listener while simultaneously becoming the champion of the Companions Guild, ingesting the Hist, and while at the same time collecting the Skeleton Key and becoming the Grey Fox. Like, did those things really happen? Is it logical for a character in Skyrim, for the Dragonborn, to be killing dragons in the morning, defeating Alduin, or trying his best to defeat Alduin, and then at 7 p.m. Selling his soul to Molag Bal, and at 9 p.m. later on the next week selling his soul to Nocturnal to become a Nightingale forevermore? Like, does that make any sense to you? That you have this character that is literally selling his soul to 5, 6, 8 different Daedras, doing their quests while also becoming the leader of the Companions Guilds? It doesn't make any sense. It's not logical. There is a big chance that none of this is actually canon, that none of this can actually, or did actually happen. And the way that I like to see Skyrim is kind of a big what if. Is the game of the what ifs. It's like a make your own story. So you start Skyrim and you say, okay, there's the main quest in front of me. This is what actually happened in the game. I talked to Delphine, I went to the Greybeards, I did the main quest, and I killed Alduin and all that stuff, right? But what if? What if the Dragonborn wasn't good? What if he didn't care about saving the world? What if he was just evil? What if he just wanted to kill people? Then he joins the Dark Brotherhood. Well, this is what happens. He joins the Dark Brotherhood. He, the Dark Brotherhood gets burned. He opens up his new sanctuary in Dawnstar, and he collects quests from the Night Mother, and he becomes the listener from then on. Sure, but okay, maybe he wasn't evil. Maybe he just wanted to steal shit. Maybe he just wanted to be rich. Well, then he becomes a Nightingale, right? Like, to me, and this is my opinion, my interpretation of the game, to me, all the side quests in the game, including the Civil War, is really just a big what if. This is what would have happened if the Dragonborn would have stopped doing what he was doing, what he was meant to do, and instead did other stuff. And then you get this representation of what if, what would have happened. For example, and this is one of the most popular ones, the Civil War. Well, who won? I mean, it is chosen by the Dragonborn, literally, who wins the Civil War. Whether the Stormcloaks defeat the Empire and become independent, or whether the Empire crushes the rebellion and maintains Skyrim within the Empire. What actually happens? Well, in the main story, if you just do the main story in Season Unending, you actually make a peace treaty between the two, pretty much separating the kingdom in half. It is more likely that that's actually the canon thing. That's the main quest. That is probably what happened. Whether the peace was broken after Alduin was defeated, after Miraak was defeated, well, we don't know. And it's going to be up to the developers probably to finish that story, and when the new Elder Scrolls comes out, I guess we will see what happened through the books. But look, chances are that's the way it works. And we don't actually get to choose that, which is the important thing. Now, this is my own opinion. I honestly, personally don't think any of the side quests are canon, including Morrowind, including Oblivion. And for the most part, it seems like a very reasonable option. I mean, when you think about most of the quests that happen in the game, a lot of them are very inconsequential. You know, if the Sanctuary gets burnt in Falkreath, the Dark Brotherhood Sanctuary gets burnt, and then a new one gets started in Dawnstar, well, it doesn't have to be the Dragonborn that does that. It could just be anybody that did it. Maybe there was just a new hero, another listener that did it, not necessarily the Dragonborn. It's perfectly reasonable. It doesn't have to be the Dragonborn. Let's go back to Oblivion, right? It could have been anybody that became the champion of the Fighters Guild. That's perfectly fine. Now, the problem here, and this is the biggest wrench in my plans, is that some side quests are actually so massive that choosing to simply not make them canon is very, very difficult. I mean, especially in Oblivion because, and this is a lesser example, but there's a quest, the Thieves Guild quest line in Oblivion has you steal an Elder Scroll. That's a big deal. I mean, could anybody steal the Elder Scroll? I mean, we know that the Hero of Kavash is a mighty warrior in all aspects of life, so he could probably do it if he wanted to, and he did in this what-if scenario, but could anyone have done that outside of the Hero of Kavash? We don't know. It's such an impressive feat, right? Now, that's one example, but I think the most hardcore example is Manimarco. Okay, so in the Mages Guild in Oblivion, you actually get to kill Manimarco. He's dead now. Period. Boom, dead now. Manimarco is probably one of the biggest lore characters in the whole game. I mean, that guy, by the time you kill him in Oblivion, he's 1,000 years old. I think he's like 1,100 and something years old. That's insane. Like, he's literally one of the main characters in Elder Scrolls Online. He's one of the main characters in Daggerfall, the game. And of course, he does participate a little bit in a lot of stories outside of the games, and then in Oblivion as well. He's a big dude. That's a very important character, and he just gets killed in a side quest for the Mages Guild. Like, that's it. Of course, you're an Archmage, and then you kill him, but, like, that's a big deal. I don't think anybody could have just done that. Like, no Archmage can just be like, all right, I'll just kill Manimarco. Like, it doesn't happen. So that's the biggest wrench. I mean, is that canon? Did the Hero of Kavash really defeat Manimarco while holding the Skeleton Key, while holding the Asura Star, while also being the champion of the Fighters Guild, while also being the champion of the arena? Like, is that a thing? Is it possible this guy literally did everything? I don't know. And that's the biggest problem. I don't think none of it is canon. I think the way the games probably go about doing that sort of thing is just, it was just an Archmage that did it, not necessarily the Hero of Kavash, but alas, I don't know. I want to leave it up to you guys as far as that is concerned. I really, really want your comments on this. I want to hear your opinions. Is there an example of one of the games making this canon? Like, is there an excerpt from a conversation or something where, say, I don't know, Nocturnal goes like, oh, you're the second person that is wielding the Skeleton Key in like 200 years or something, like the last hero that defeated Miriam Zagan. Like, I need some kind of confirmation that a side quest actually became canon by the main character in that game. If you guys can find that, that'll be amazing. Let's have some conversations here in chat because I'm really curious. But that makes it very difficult to decide what's canon or not. Now, that being said, going under the impression, pretending that the side quests are not canon, where is the Dragonborn now? What did he do? Well, if we follow the timeline, first he kills Alduin in the main game, in the main quest. Then Dungar appears. He, kills, I think it's Archmage Brithel. I don't remember the name of the guy, the snow elf in the Vale. He kills them. He kills Harkon. Then Dragonborn appears. He goes to Solstheim and he kills Miraak. Right? Boom. End of the game. That's literally the last thing that it is given to us. And as far as the main stories are concerned, that's the end. He kills Miraak. He goes back to Solstheim, he gets a conversation with Freya, and boom, that's it. End of the game, the end of Skyrim. If Skyrim had a storybook, that would be the end. He goes back to Solstheim, he talks to Freya. Freya says a couple of things, and it's over. Now, let's talk about this, because I have a theory as to where the Dragonborn is now, and it's obviously extremely reliant on this literally the last 4 lines of the game as far as the main story is concerned. So for everyone to understand where we're at here, Miraak was imprisoned by Hermaeus Mora. You see, Miraak, he betrayed the dragons back in the I think it was the Merithic era by then? Must have been the first era, I don't remember. Point is, he betrayed the dragons, and then the dragons lashed out against Miraak. He defeated all the dragons that he fought, and I believe it was about 21 or 23. It was a lot of dragons that he killed, just right up there and there. Then a dragon priest, what I believe was Valok, remember the name of the priest, but he defeated Miraak. Now, before Miraak could be killed by this dragon priest, he was saved by Hermaeus Mora, and since then he's been imprisoned in the realm of Apocrypha, which is the realm in Oblivion for Hermaeus Mora. Now, Miraak has been trying to escape since then, but he's not able to. He is, for all terms and purposes, imprisoned there by Hermaeus Mora. For whatever reason, Hermaeus Mora, he wants information. He wants every secret in the world, and to him, the concept of a Dovahkiin, of a Dragonborn, is extremely fascinating to him because there's a lot of secrets tied up to an individual who, has the soul of a dragon in it and is indeed blessed by the gods, right? There's a lot to that, and not just that, but it is a character that can, for all terms and purposes, walk through the earth. And if you have a servant that is extremely powerful, that serves you, it actually gives you a lot of power in the world. It really does. So there's a reason for him to want to have Miraak on his side, but Miraak didn't want that. Miraak wanted to escape, but he couldn't. He thought that if he were to defeat the real last Dragonborn, that he would get so many dragon souls and so much power that he would then be strong enough to maybe defeat Hermaeus Mora, or maybe just escape the realm and be free once more. Now, the interesting thing is that when you kill Miraak, when you confront him and kill him, Hermaeus Mora impales Miraak, kills him, and says, "Did you think you could escape me, Miraak? You can hide nothing from me here, no matter. I have found a new Dragonborn to serve me." Then Miraak says, "May he be rewarded for his service, as I am." So, from the get-go, it almost alludes as if the Dragonborn has already agreed on serving Hermaeus Mora. Now, do note that at this point, you are in the realm of Apocrypha. You are in the literal embodiment of Hermaeus Mora. He, if he wanted to, could take control of you, could kill you, could imprison you. Like, he controls this domain. It is his will to manipulate it. This is where he is at his strongest. And there's, as far as I know, there's never been a point where a person could defeat a Daedric god in his realm. That's just crazy, right? Then Hermaeus Mora says, and this is the very interesting part, Miraak harbored fantasies of rebellion against me. Learn from his example. Serve me faithfully, and you will continue to be richly rewarded. Now, picture this scenario. Miraak decides to betray Hermaeus Mora. Hermaeus Mora kills Miraak. And then Hermaeus Mora says, learn from his example. Isn't that interesting? He's literally saying, if you don't serve me, I will kill you. And believe it or... I mean, it's not hard to believe that he could do that very, very easily in his realm. He controls everything that happens. And he says, learn from his example. His example being, he betrayed him, he was killed. Boom, that easy. Serve me faithfully and you will continue to be richly rewarded. Now what happens next is even more interesting because he's let go. The Dragonborn is literally able to leave the realm of Apocrypha. Just this monolith appears in the middle of the tower and then boom, he touches it, boom, he leaves. Just like that. Just like that he leaves, right? And then when he goes back to Solstheim, Freya talks to him and says, Hermaeus Mora forced you to serve him in order to defeat Miraak. Do not let him lure you further down that path. The Allmaker made you Dragonborn for a higher purpose. Do not forget that. Do not forget that. Walk with the Allmaker, Skull friend. And it's very interesting because they could have just left it there. They could have just left it as you left Solstheim, and that was it. But they decided to press the matter a little further to kind of make you doubt whether the Dragonborn was truly free or not. Because, you see, just by leaving Apocrypha, it's like you get this impression that, oh, well, we're obviously free. Like, we can do whatever we want to. There's no... Since nothing happened, you're almost expected to believe that that was it. That's the end. But the game developers give you this last bit of warning, almost giving you the question, well, is the Dragonborn gonna succumb to Hermaeus Mora? Or is he going to surpass it? So before, that question didn't exist. Of course we were gonna surpass it, there's no question about it. But then she gives us the question, almost forcing us to wonder ourselves, well, what's gonna happen? Are we gonna be able to do it, or are we not going to do it? And then the game ends. So we're posed this question, well, is the Dragonborn going to be the servant of Hermaeus Mora? Is he going to be stuck under the influence of Hermaeus Mora, or is he going to be able to prevail, and that's the end of it? The interesting thing, again, is that Hermaeus Mora just let us go. He could have just kept us. There was no way for us to return, but he kept us. He literally just allowed us to leave the realm. Which makes me believe that it is very likely that maybe we accepted his offer. Maybe we indeed became his servant, because otherwise he wouldn't have let us go. Maybe we are already imprisoned to his will. Makes sense. Maybe we'll play Elder Scrolls 6 and at some point we'll enter the realm of Apocrypha, or maybe we'll just talk to Hermaeus Mora like we usually do in most games, most Elder Scrolls games, and they will give us a hint that the Dragonborn is still in there, stuck, without being able to leave. Thank you guys for watching. You guys are awesome. Bye-bye.